and she would just like pat my head, like almost to feel my hair, and I'm just like,
girl, do you know like how many times in my life I had to be like, don't touch my hair?
yeah.
And like, I get it that some of y'all like really amazed with like the curls, the textures, like things that are different, but we are not animals.
Yeah.
And we have boundaries.
Yeah.
And that is a pet peeve.
Yeah.
First, don't touch my hair, and don't even ask if you can touch my hair. Hey guys, welcome to the Strong by Choice podcast, where we teach in business, life, and health. My name is Susan, better known as Susie Savage because I like to lift heavy things. I'm the owner of Better Body 757, a small gym located in downtown Hampton, Virginia, focused on empowering women to take hold of their health and fitness.
And my name is Desirae Mills. I am an owner of A Lending Ear, and I create a comfortable environment for women to become aware that they are fully worthy and capable of their own healing. And you can also call me Cosmic Ray because I get in tune.
The purpose of this podcast is to inspire women to be bold about their intentions and to take massive action working towards their goals in all areas of their life. In today's episode, this one is super personal to me. We're talking about being one shade off. So what this means, first of all, I am mixed races. So my father is from Jamaica. My mom is white. She's white. So
what does that even mean?
Well, white, like from Iowa white.
Oh.
Like not like she's, in the city exposed to urban. My mom lived on a farm. She white.
Oh, fun fact. Didn't know that.
Fun fact. So growing up, I don't think I really like noticed my race or like took it seriously until college. But I mean, before that, I had friends. I had black friends who would call me white friends who would call me black, whatever. I never really played into it or like really gave it any notice because we lived in a mixed area. I would say all of the schools I went to were a pretty good mix of races for the most part. But once I got to college, that was the first time I ever felt like the black kid, which like I know talking to like my friends when I would tell them like about my experience, they'd be like, "What? Like you're not even black? Like you're mixed."
I did that all the time. I was like,
I don't understand.
I didn't understand that. I'm like, okay, but cool, not cool.
Yeah. It was interesting because, I went to Boston University, which being in the city, I didn't expect to experience the things that I did.
Mm-hmm.
But how do I say this? The culture was still very segregated to me. Being an athlete, I was lucky that I was around, other black people, which is sad to say, but within my my major, it was me and there was another mixed girl who was 2 years older than me, but like in my graduating class of 2013, I forgot how old I was. I was the black kid. And it definitely like showed up in the way that like the teachers treated me
and also to point this out for the people who are just listening to the podcast, Susan is, if you haven't already gone on our Facebook or Instagram page, Susan is very fair skinned. She's very light skinned,
especially in the winter.
She has her hair is super curly. So when you look at her, you know that she's black, but when I first met her, I thought she was like Puerto Rican or
I get
Hispanic
a lot
of
of
some
that,
sort,
Polynesian, or I get a lot. People will talk to me in Spanish, and I'll be like,
yeah. So when she told me that she was getting a form of discrimination and racism, I'm like, but she can pass definitely still for white passing basically. If you guys aren't,
I don't know about that because
white passing, but
to white people. And like no shade, I love my mom, but
you're always black.
No matter what percentage you are, if you're not fully white, you're black or whatever else you are.
I just thought just by the way you look, you would have like a easier transition.
No, not at all, not at all. It was a very interesting journey, and I don't want to touch too much on it because that could be a whole episode in itself. But today we want to talk about. One, the way that we treat each other as black women and the basically colorism and the standards of beauty and how we need to stop tearing each other down.
So we recorded a podcast about my first powerlifting meet. So when we went there, it was me, Susan, Shay, who trains here, Justin, who trains here as well for powerlifting. And so it was us four, and then there was only one other black woman there who was lifting.
Right.
So pretty much it was only four only three women, black competitors there. And I remember when I seen her, I was like, "Oh yes, go ahead." And she was really able to lift her weight. At first, I was like, "Oh man, I didn't even lift that heavy." So a part of me was like a little bit intimidated, but I was rooting for her because every time she went up there to do her squat or her bench or her deadlifts, her name was Natasha. Hey, Natasha, girl, hope you listen to our podcast. Every time she went up there, I was congratulating her. I was like, if she was struggling, I was like, "Come on, you got it," because you don't see a lot of us,
right? Especially in those different spaces like that. One, because there's still that stigma with black women and weightlifting and things like that. So a lot of times when you go to competitions and sporting events of, I'll say, predominantly white sports, you are the only one, or maybe you and another person. And when you see that one person sticking up from across from you, you're like, "Hey, girlfriend," and you almost feel a sense of like, I have to root for her because no one else here is. And that's not to say people are against you or, you know, not everyone is like, "Oh, let's make the black girl lose" or something like that. But you feel that connection, that need for that person looks like me.
Because I think it really is because you know how you feel being in that space and how you would have felt if you were by yourself, being like the only. So I don't know if any of you guys experienced like being the only black person somewhere. So when you're able to find somebody else, knowing that feeling, like I don't even feel comfort. I don't even feel I don't feel obligated. I just feel comfortable. Like yes, like And I think sometimes as black people, especially with the dark skin versus light skin thing, or just in general, we start to like go against one another, and it's like when we're in certain spaces, that's the time when we need to come together and root for one another, and which is what we all did. Like, "Hey girl, you got this," and you know, we conversed but
not only in those spaces where we feel segregated, but in every other time, because in those times I feel like it's less about color. Like you see a black person and you automatically congregate with them, but maybe in other spaces where there's more of us, there's still that dark skin, light skin thing, and that it really grinds my gears.
I'm about to say, tap into like how, especially with you being mixed, how do you feel about that?
Like I said, I never really experienced that like that stereotype and those issues until college, and it wasn't really until then where I felt like I needed to be unapologetically black. And when I say unapologetically black, I don't mean like being extra and like, "I'm black, look at me," but I do get from darker skinned women, like, your story, like, it ain't all that. Like, my struggles are not validated because I'm lighter skinned. People treat me differently, but in all honesty, like, it's only other black women that treat me like that. To white people, like, we're all the same. But it's when I'm in those spaces where I'm trying to talk about my experiences, and I have other dark-skinned women who will downplay, like, my reaction to it or downgrade, like, the seriousness of that situation. And it pisses me off. Because the places that I'm going, the things that I've done, like, I'm trying to open the doorway for other women of color. There aren't a lot of women doing the things I'm doing. Even, like, being an athletic trainer, like, when I was at Virginia Tech, or, like, going different places and doing these, I'm the only black person in the room. Black woman or black man, like, I'm the only person of color in the room. And especially as, like, I climb in my career and the things that I'm doing, the courses that I'm taking, the interactions that I have, these masterminds, these other things, like, my goal is to be a good example and to be, like, to show that you can be unapologetically black and be in these spaces still. And so to me, like, when I see other people, like, trying to downplay, like, my struggles or, like, my successes and say that I got here because I don't look like a typical black person or whatever it may be, like, it just... And
what I find in the black community, especially when it comes to colorism, not saying that that isn't a real thing as far as, like, some opportunities that people of lighter skin will be able to enter different spaces a little bit easier, but regardless of the fact, it opens a space. But it almost turns into like this competition of who had it worse.
Right.
And when it really doesn't matter, yes, it does matter. Of course, you have to, like, some people have it harder, but it doesn't negate, or we shouldn't put down someone else's struggle because you felt like you struggled more. Like, right. Everyone has their own individual story, and each story needs to be expressed and can be worked upon with each other to, like you said, like creating different spaces and just being able to acknowledge, like, yeah, we go through something, it might be different than yours, but it doesn't take away your value, because right. Then it can turn into negative, like something more negative, where you starting to go against each other, or you feel like, I'm gonna totally pull out from this because you guys don't understand. Like, it has right. to be a sense of camaraderie and, like, understanding and actual care, because no matter what, like you said, in the world that we live in, we're all Black. It doesn't right. matter.
And you should be rooting for that girl ahead of you, because her opening the door, like, she's going to turn around and she's going to pull you up. Yeah. So instead of being like, I hope she fails, or even just, like, ignoring it, because there's also that aspect of it where you're not necessarily rooting against them, but you don't, like, their journey doesn't resonate with you because whatever, you define them as this person, so I'm just going to ignore it instead of being like, well, I could support them, or I could show up in this way. Yeah. I see what you're saying. When we support each other, we all win. And I know, like, that sounds so corny, but it's so true.
It's very true.
Even, like, when we think about, like, our journey together and, like, where we've come from, in starting off, Desirae wasn't always into, like, fitness, but she saw my vision and she believed in me. And now we're in a place where both of us can be doing the things that we want, because her helping to support me has created opportunities for us. Yeah.
And it is a beauty in that. And I think in general, in the Black community, we don't really have that anymore. It's very much like, okay, if I do this for you, that's taken away from me. But if you find somebody who you can look at them and you can see their passion, you can see the hard work they have into them, and sometimes those are the people who have the least, who don't really have that extra amount of support, whether it's financially, emotionally, and wherever the hell it may be. So if you're able to give your time to bring that person up and help them along their journey, all the different things that can open up from you have to, like, as people, I know we touched on this last time on one of the podcasts, stop looking for all this, like, the quick gratifications, because we're Black people, I think now in the community, I almost feel like we're back at I'm not going to say at the start, but, like, we're like the new Black Wall Street in a way. Yeah, we're building businesses and trying to get stuff together. So there is a certain amount of work. So to try to tear someone down because they don't fit the mold of how you think a Black person should be, or this Black person should look a certain way to lead us for this kind of group, just let it rock. Like, you have to allow that person to be who they are so we can move past this.
Yeah. And I think the more that we support each other, it allows us to enter these spaces and to be ourselves more often. Yes. And I know one thing for me that I experienced in the beginning stages was that I felt like I had to come across a certain way because of who I was. And whether that's the way that I speak, the things that I wear, I had to make sure I didn't come off. I'm already going to stand out because I'm the only person of color in the room. So, like, I couldn't wear my hair a certain way. I couldn't wear certain earrings. I couldn't come off as being too aggressive because there's always that label being the angry Black woman. And that, I got that a lot in college. Never in my life to that point, like, had anyone ever told me, like, I was disrespectful, or abrasive was the word that they used to describe me. And I literally had never in my life.
That sounds like a beginning of a song. Abrasive was a word they used to describe me.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
But, like, never in my life. And, my mom, she raised me, like, I was always respectful to adults, even when I didn't like what they had to say. Like, I've always been, listen to what they say and respond accordingly. Don't tell, like, everyone how you feel, whatever's in your mind. So for someone to, like, tell me that I was abrasive, I am, like, I say what I want. I ask questions. I'm a curious person. And I think that came across as being, like, rude to them, like, when I would question, like, certain things we did in class and whatnot. But the reason I am where I am is because of those same traits. And the funny thing is, when women who are not of color have those same traits, they're seen as being trailblazers, as being strong and strong-minded and all these positive things. But when a woman of color is any of them, she's an angry Black woman.
I'm about to say, you don't want to have that I'm an angry Black woman stereotype.
Right. So, like, the way that I would deliver certain things, I had to think about it before I would say it, just to make sure I didn't come across in a way, because people are already intimidated by me. And I will say, like, I am a powerful person. Like, my presence is known in the room. I have a power stance, and people notice me. So they're already intimidated by the fact that I'm a strong black woman, and I look strong. I look like I lift heavy things. I'm not a little person, and I never want to be. So I almost have to make myself softer in those spaces to make sure that my point is still taken in. So they're not just looking at me, but understanding like what I have to give, my value, my worth, and my content. And that is one thing that I've tried to shy away from. There's like two things that I've been really focused on in the past, I would say, like, year. One is being unapologetically myself, and two is giving myself grace. And I think I'm finally at the point where I've stopped really caring about what other people think of me, because when I show up and I'm myself, it allows other people room to be that as well.
You know, I'm so happy that you said that, because when I watch certain people on YouTube or read certain articles or whatever, Facebook, I think the best thing I love, even if like there's some people who you would consider super abstract, the way they think, the way they, whatever it may be, even down to, for me, I would even say RuPaul. I know this is weird, but I love RuPaul's Drag Race. I mean, it's one of my guilty pleasures. But I think one of the reasons why I like to watch that show, or just anyone who's super bold, is because they just don't care. Like, they're honoring themselves. Even if I don't fully believe in what they are displaying, the fact that they're like, this is who I am,
and they're owning
it, for whatever reason, when I see that, it's like, if they can do it, it allows me to do it. So I'm like, I can do that too. I can be in it. It takes me in the space of like not downing myself, but figuring out, okay, who exactly am I? How do I create this? What do I like? So you have to allow that person to be who you are. And touching on what you said about you know, being unapologetically black, I never really felt like I came up on too much racism, per se. And I'm a brown skinned, dark skinned woman. I remember when I was growing up, I had one of my best friends. Her name was Amanda. Hey, Amanda. A white girl, and there was this one girl named Jasmine who lived in the neighborhood, and I remember her and Jasmine used to get into it all the time. No, this is when I grew up in Salem.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is Salem Lakes, Virginia Beach. And her and Jasmine used to get into it. And I remember one day she came up to me laughing, and she was like, I just called Jasmine the N-word. And she was laughing. And for me, I started laughing too, but I was kind of like, ha, ha, ha. Like,
wait a second.
Something in my black spirit said,
it didn't feel right.
That didn't feel right. So, and I think her dad didn't really like black people. And I know also that when I was a pharmacy technician, and right now I have locks. I've just started a lock journey for like 4 months now or whatever, but I was natural, so I had just cut my hair off, but like in the 2 years my hair got to the length where it was like longer than a TWA, which is teeny weeny afro, so I was able to style it more. And I remember looking in the mirror, and I would ask my mom and my sister, like, does my hair look too black? Like, I didn't want it to be too big walking into that space. And I always wanted to be like the good black person.
You wanted to fit in.
Yeah.
You didn't want
I didn't want other people to feel uncomfortable.
Right.
It wasn't
even
so much.
We tone ourselves down to make them feel better about themselves.
Because
we are not intimidating. They are intimidated. And every time I see that, I'm going to repost it, because we don't need to make ourselves small to make other people feel comfortable.
100%.
They need to step up their level of understanding
and feel more confident in their own damn selves.
Exactly. Because that's the other thing, is we have this air where, and you can even look at this study, this is real research, and this is why black people get shot all the time. They're intimidated by our size. We come across as being strong already, so we feel the need to kind of take a step back. But that, like, this is real research. That's the reason why black men get shot all the time, is there's this stereotype that, like, we're superheroes basically, and I don't know if it really goes back to like the slave days, but like us being strong and stuff like that, so they automatically feel like they have to pull a weapon because they can't take us down.
Darkness is always intimidating when you don't really know what's going to come out of it. Right.
But
spirit talk. Cosmic Ray coming through.
And so that's why, you know, when we have our people in these spaces, we really need to focus on supporting them and allowing them to be themselves. and not, tearing them down for every little judgment.
Every little thing.
Right, because we already are fighting within ourselves to fight standards of beauty. And going back to the hair thing, it honestly took me, like, until I graduated from college to even love my hair. And
that's just wild for me to even think that with you.
So many people compliment my hair.
Because in the black, in the brown skin,
I got good hair.
She has the good hair. And people were like, so even for you to hear you say that you were insecure about that. But then,
I never knew what to do with it. Like, my mom is white. So, like, even just trying to comb it, like, I got a relaxer when I was in kindergarten. Because I wanted my hair to be like my mom's. Yeah. And yes, it was a lot easier to manage. And like, I have pictures where, like, I have like, wait, why did my hair look like that? And it was when I got a relaxer. And that went on like through middle school. I wanted my hair to be more manageable. I felt like all the styles that like look good were like with straighter hair. And I feel like most of the time I would wear my hair in like a bun, like through middle and through high school. And some of that was being an athlete. I never felt like doing my hair. I'm also kind of a tomboy.
And then I'm gonna touch on something really quick because I can just hear these comments in my mind. Again, when you see Susan, again, she's a fair-skinned woman, curly ringlets and everything. There's gonna be people who say, well, you are already the standard of beauty. But it does, I'm saying this, it does not, even if you are the standard of beauty, if that's not how you feel on the inside, if you're insecure about anything, it doesn't matter. So please don't come up here trying to knock her story, knock her struggle of how she feels as herself being that young child. And even into like the past, 2 years, you said that you finally feel like you can fully accept your hair. That's true to her, no matter what. And whenever you set in your mind that something of being truth, it becomes your reality. So in her truth, in her reality, that's how she felt in whatever aspect it is. It's just in the same way with women who have the kinkier hair who don't feel like they're beautiful because their hair is kinky. There's some women who think your hair is great, but does them thinking your hair is great deter how you feel in your reality about yourself? No.
And if you got a problem, you can fight me.
We lift heavy things. You don't want to try it. I'm just kidding.
But I mean, even that, like, standards of beauty, like, y'all, you might look at me and think that, but really, like, that has just become mainstream recently. Because even like growing up, like the things that we see on television, there weren't people like me. And like now that we're in those spaces, and yeah, I know people are gonna say like, when people look for commercials and for ads, it looks like a light-skinned woman. Okay, that's great, but that happened in my adult life.
And it's crazy. Just even thinking of like when I went natural, it was in 2009. That's when I did the big chop. If anybody knows about that, cut off all my hair. And I remember like from 2009 to 2018, like when I walk into a store, I get overwhelmed by all the products. Like it's amazing of like what 10 years would do. Even in the 5 years when the natural hair community started to pop off,
right?
I'm like, I don't remember it being like that when I was a little kid. I remember you had that one section,
the bottom shelf.
Yeah, and that was even if you went to
jam and
even if you went to like the beauty hair supply store, there was like staple products that every black household have. And now it's like, what do I buy? I get overwhelmed.
Yeah, and so that's just recently. But all in all, like, we need to stop tearing each other down. And it's so crazy to me when I see, women who talking smack about each other instead of just like really empowering and supporting each other. And there's this whole like women empowerment movement that's going on right now. And I use it a lot, but I really stand behind it. But if you say that you're about women empowerment and you look at another woman and you tear her down, then you're not about women empowerment. If you don't support them because their ideals don't align with yours, then you're not about women empowerment.
So I'm going to say this thing about women empowerment too, which I 100% agree on. And I'm going to reference this to this Facebook page my sister goes in on live. It's about black women, kind of like talking about like different black men or men in general, how they get on the nerves. I'm all about black empowerment. I'm all about black women. I'm about rooting for them. But at the same time, if you are a black woman who can't take a form of critique or always saying that we're always right, then you're not really for black empowerment either, because there's still work and healing that we need to do as well. And I know I felt like for for loving someone, I thought it was always like, oh yeah, you're great. Even if you kind of felt like they were doing something wrong, like, oh, I don't want to make them upset. But there's a sense of tough love that needs to be said all the time.
Right.
I'm all for it. But if I see you, I'm like, okay, hey girl, you might want to, we can critique this here and there. Mm-hmm. That's okay. And also when you get that, you'll be able to tell when someone's coming to you, giving you a critique with love versus someone just coming at you just because they want to come at you.
Right.
So you have to also be in a space and be open enough to be able to take that, because if not, we can just be doing some. You don't want to be out here just doing whatever and no one's telling like, girl, look, you fall. I'm like, yeah, girl, I seen that coming. But then you really weren't rooting for me,
right? Because
you would have been like, girl,
you doing too much. You not showing up the right way.
Yeah,
right. And we were actually talking before we started recording about the difference between, being unapologetically black versus being extra.
Yes.
And sometimes we use it as our excuse to show up how we want to. And there's still a level of like being professional and, you shouldn't change who you are. You should wear your hair the way that like you are beautiful naturally as you are. You shouldn't have to change your personality. You need to show up in spaces professionally still. Don't use it as an excuse to show up and to
Can I touch? I feel like don't use blackness as being a trend. Yeah. As being a costume. As being the hot topic of the moment. I'm black. So this is what black looks now. And so this is how I feel I need to operate in order to show like I'm black and I'm proud.
And we operate in stereotypes when we do that.
Exactly, we operate in stereotypes.
Up as gangster or
like,
whatever.
Yeah, like, or even just because you put on a dashiki doesn't mean like, oh yeah, this person is so down for the black people. Me personally, woke
is such a trend now.
And also the woke is actually a lucrative. Two different points. Being woke is actually a lucrative. Like you can make money from that. Like it's really lucrative. So again, it goes into like a money pit. But I think being unapologetically black is being unapologetically yourself in whatever fashion that is,
in your skin, your natural self,
the way you talk, the way you act, the different things you do, the activities you do, the places you go, what you eat. It adds to who you are as a person. And to me, it adds to the black collective just because you are striving to be your best self and you are black. Right. You are your best self, but you're not being your best self just because you're black. But you just are.
You're not trying to limit your vocabulary or the way you come across just because you are black.
Yeah.
You're still trying to be the best version of you. The best example of your community and still trying to be at the top. Be the best person in the room and don't say... Like, don't use that as your excuse to lessen your standards.
To lessen your standards or to set a certain standard. You set your standard no matter what. Mm-hmm. So when you start to do that and you're operating in yourself, you, like I said, you are automatically give back to the black community. You automatically add to the whole collective of what it means to be black. Again, like, we don't really see, like, even, like the scientists or different people who are doing different inventions, like letting those people know, like, yeah, I freaking love computer science and I do that. And when that black person who loves computer science and does all that stuff and they achieve that and create some kind of, I don't know, web or invention, that adds to the black collective. But he didn't take himself away from it because he's black. You get what I'm saying? So, you're the force behind this skin, and this is just the operating vehicle. So you be the best of who you are on the inside, and everything else gonna flow.
Word. Do you have any stories about feeling like discriminated against or anything?
I do. So again, when I was working in the pharmacy in Illinois, I'm not really going to say discriminated against. I think because
feeling out of place because of who you are.
I think with that whole aggressive black woman thing. I'm not super aggressive like that. I'm very friendly, very bubbly.
We're very, like, opposite.
Yeah, we really are. She's definitely more straightforward and assertive, and I'm more, not recluse. I'm more, like, I'm not laid back. I'm kind of with my words, and
She's more thoughtful. She'll think about like the emotional response of someone before she says what she wants, and I'm very logical.
Yeah.
Yes, no, I don't really care if you hurt my feelings. I'm not trying to hurt your feelings, but if it happens, it happens kind of thing.
And I need some of that in my life. So when I worked in Indiana, again, with me trying not to be like the stereotypical angry black woman, you know, regardless of the fact I'm a kind person, but right. I almost felt like when I acted, when I was really good at my job, one thing I would credit myself, whenever I put my mind to something, I commit to it, I always am going to be the best one at it. There's just nothing killed that powerlifting me. But when I'm doing all this stuff and I wasn't super angry or whatever it may be, like I felt like they were amazed at me. Like, I remember one of my managers, she was like, I'm just so amazed at you. You're just like amazed. I never worked with a person like you. And me, I got to feel like I never worked with a black person like you.
Who cared about what they were doing, who was good at their job.
Yeah, and I remember this one lady, she was a technician, and I was squatting down on the shelf to get the medicine. And it was like on 2 different occasions, she would just like pat my head, like almost to feel my hair. And I'm just like,
girl, do you know like how many times in my life I had to be like, don't touch my hair?
Yeah.
And like, I get it that some of y'all like really amazed with like the curls, the textures, like things that are different. But we are not animals.
Yeah.
And we have boundaries.
Yeah.
And that is a pet peeve.
Yeah.
First, don't touch my hair, and don't even ask if you can touch my hair.
Nope.
Because no, pet your dog.
Ooh, poodle.
Anyways, continue.
But I think that was like the biggest form of discrimination. I feel like, again, like I go through life and I'm proud to be a black woman, but that's not always on the forefront in my mind.
Right.
It's just I like to meditate and stones and do podcasts and lift heavy things. So, but I'm black.
Yeah, I wish that it wasn't at the forefront of my mind, and most times in my space, it's not. When I'm in my gym doing my thing, it's not. But it's when I'm venturing out into
I get what you're saying.
Different things, different communities, especially different levels.
Yeah,
and that's really when I feel different. Even so, we went to this what would you call it? That panel meeting for making her story was what it called, with the city of Hampton. And so it's supposed to be about like women and like breaking barriers and leadership and that type of thing.
I thought it was about entrepreneurs and business women. But
that's the way it was presented. But so there was a panel discussion in how many women were on stage? 5, 6?
No, it was like 1, 2, 3. I think 6. It was 3 people per couch.
Okay,
it was 6. Yep.
There were 6 women up there. There was only 1 woman of color, and the 1 woman of color, it honestly felt like they just picked a person who already had like a presence and were like, here's a black woman, let me just throw her on stage. Her story and the things that she said weren't even really like on topic, and it kind of hurt me a little bit because it felt like she didn't, I don't want to say it didn't represent as well, but it didn't feel like she was supposed to be there. Almost like they just threw her in to put her up there.
Yeah.
Like they really didn't think about that person. It was just like, we need to have a splash of color on stage. And that offended me. And it's
like a news reporter or something like that. She was a kind lady,
she's sweet. She's a well-known news reporter, and she's moving into some different entrepreneurial things with her business. She's
talking about like black real estate too,
right? She started a real estate company, and it's like her story is great in what she's done, but it
didn't represent us well, honestly.
Yeah, and it's like in those moments where it's like this conference is supposed to be about like leadership and breaking barriers, and the crowd looked like us, but no one on the stage did.
Yeah.
And so
I think it was definitely more black women there than there was.
There was more women of color.
Yeah.
And more entrepreneurs, people trying to do bigger things. And all the women on stage were, besides the one person, they lacked melanin. And their story wasn't, like, it was about breaking barriers, more so like getting into a higher position, working for someone else. Yeah. Even the things that they said didn't really resonate with me. Like one woman, for example, talked about being the city manager and saying like what a great position she was in, and then a different position open where she could come into that leadership role, and she turned it down because of the position. She has such a great boss, and she said that she did better in urban spaces, which I was also like, girl, whatever. But like, it really didn't break any barriers to me. And it really didn't, like, I'm glad that you guys had successful careers, but you had careers. You didn't make your careers. You didn't make a space for anyone. You know, it's good to see women in leadership roles, but you're still working for someone else. And you're still, even if you're in, like, a CEO position, but you're not, if it's not your company, if you didn't create, you didn't own it. To me, it's not to downplay any of their success, but it just didn't resonate with me and what I'm trying to accomplish.
And then also, I love the questions that the host was asking.
It wasn't enough for me.
I wanted them to. One, I thought it was about women who were business women, entrepreneurs, right, who created their own way. But to also know, when I thought of her story, like, to know about, she ain't gotta tell me her business, but like the true, it was very struggles.
Superficial.
Yeah, like
and a lot of the women up there weren't really open. Some of them said like they didn't regret anything in their life, and they felt like their path was smooth, and they're glad that people supported them. And I could look at the women on stage and tell how insecure some of them were about their health and the way they presented themselves.
I think
to me, that's not being truthful, because that's even like work-life balance. Like, I worked so hard, I wasn't able to take care of myself. I could look at some of them and see the hurt in their eyes and see the things that they didn't want to touch on, and it felt fake.
And to me, I wanted it to be more real and more raw. I think a lot of people nowadays, they want to talk about their experiences and hear from people who've gone through something that's similar, and know that there is like a way out of it. Right. Like, you can get better. And even in the first moments, because I know for me in my healing process, I wasn't even looking for people to tell me how to get out of it. I was just looking to know, like,
there the way on the other side.
No, not that. But that the way I felt was validated. Right. I just wanted to be heard. Sometimes there is power of just being able to express how you feel and to be heard. Mm-hmm. Just initially, of course, there always needs to be that outcome of like, okay, how to get out of it. But to be able to be in a safe environment where you can say your piece without judgment and know people
you're not crazy. You just need a lending ear.
But it matters. So I also wanted to have that, because when you get that sense of letting that out and expressing yourself, and you get to like, it's a sense of release.
Right.
And from that space, then you feel comforted, and then you feel like, okay, now what? But it's always, to me, that initial, you have to be able to have some form of relatability where where they don't feel judged and they feel comfortable in where they are at that space. Because when you're in a certain space, especially with the work-life balance, or you're in a dark place, you already are judging yourself for not being where you think you're supposed to be.
Right.
So sometimes you come at, that's why I always in like the, even though he's a great person, what's his name? E.T. I love him.
Best motivational speaker in the world.
He's great. But that whole approach is not for me, because in my mind, and maybe my mom yelled a lot when I was younger. So when you start yelling at me, I'm going to shut down. Yeah. Even if it's something positive, I don't feel comfortable. It's like, I know I need to be quiet at this moment. So you're going to be talking to me, and that's all I'm going to be like, because I know I need to be quiet. But I need to have a space where I feel like I can comfortably express myself. And so I think just having that I guess that's what I wanted to have. So then, like I said, from there you can start to say, okay, I can do this, I'm going to move out.
And I think that's more so what we're looking for, like, when we want those women to look up to. We want those women of color in those spaces to be leading the way, and to know that what they went through, and that we can do it too.
Like, it's okay, you're doing fine. It's like being a mom. Like, when you become, I know
you think you're doing everything wrong.
You think you're doing everything wrong, but you really are doing great. Your kid ain't bleeding. She alive. He alive. They walking, running, talking.
If they're not bleeding for too long, that's
for too long. Too. Yeah, and it's having that. So then that way you can feel empowered and encouraged and feel confident enough to keep going. Still make some changes where changes need to be made, because as I touched on earlier, I'm all about Black empowerment and Black women. But there's still, like, you gotta be able to be okay with taking some critique.
Yeah.
Sometimes your stuff stink. Gotta wash it.
So we need to support more women of color, so we can get in those spaces.
Yes.
And then, as women of color, as we're breaking those barriers, be open to that criticism as well. We need to really,
because criticism, it takes you to the next level.
Right. And I always tell people, like, when I ask for criticism, I really want you to tell me.
She be truthful.
Yeah, because to me, I'm an athlete, and that's why like I take well to like the yelling, because I'm just thinking, all right, coach, what do I need to do better?
Don't yell at me.
I don't care. It doesn't bother me, because to me it's not emotional, because you want me to be better and you're telling me what I need to do so I can make the community better.
Yeah.
So to me it's never like, oh, you're a crappy person, you're doing terrible. It's like, this is what you need to do so we can all win.
Yeah.
And I think we need to be open to that kind of criticism, because we all have spaces and areas we need to grow in. But we need to make sure we're not tearing each other down in that process, and that the things that we're saying are actually criticism in a constructive way, and not just, girl, your hair is ugly,
and
or your outfit doesn't look.
I love that reference you made when I just said don't yell at me, but you was like, it's not, has nothing to do with emotional. And again, I'm about to say, don't take everything so personal, because I do that a lot. I don't do it as much as I thought, because like I said before, like I thought love was just like this one way, but there's still tough love. It's still love. So you can't. I even have on my refrigerator. I don't take things personally, because sometimes we always think it's like always a super personal attack, which pretty much coincides with like whatever amount of healing that you still need to do to kind of let that go. But you can't always take things personally. You have to take the critique or whatever it is for what it is. That's it.
And if negative things do come with that, you just got to separate, take the positive, and keep moving.
Yep.
Figure out where you need to improve, what's going to make you a better person, a better leader, better mom, whatever that is, and move on from it. But
100%.
Yeah, so to conclude this podcast, guys, one, as minorities, as people of color, as women, we need to stop tearing each other down. We need to support women, and even, I mean, we say women because that's the majority of our audience. But I mean, this goes for everyone. For black men, same thing. Don't tear down your brother. Don't tear down your sister. When you see them trying to do something, support them. And this is not at face value. You can't just say black empowerment, women empowerment, and like let that be it. Actually go out, support their business. Don't ask for a discount, because that's also on my list of pet peeves. Because I'm a professional and I put just as much work into this as anyone else. So for you to come to me and to say that you think my product is of lesser value and you deserve a discount just because you know me,
and then especially if you're asking for a discount, but then you're not offering me anything,
right?
Like,
if it was a mutual, let's work together. You know, you help me here, and I'll put you on this platform, or I'll promote this.
And then that way, it's like
a mutually beneficial relationship.
But if you just
if
simply
you're looking for a handout,
no, it has to be something. And I thought about this other day about somebody I want to work with, like where I can offer my experience for like an equal exchange. I'm gonna tell you about it later, but having that, so, and that also taps into one knowing your own value, and then being like, whatever it is that you say that you want to do, you better go ahead and do it now, because if you feel like you don't have the funds for it, then you better get your stuff together, so when you enter into this space, you're able to, like she said, make a proper exchange. And again, that to me, that builds up relationships that can prosper even through the future, because that's something you guys can have throughout the time as you build yourself up and I'm building myself up. We're coming together, building ourselves up. So when you reach that point and I'm getting people who need certain help with something, I know I can direct this person to you,
right?
Because I know the benefit, I know your value, I know the help that you've given me. But you just, like you said, you're just saying like, look, can I just get 50% off?
No, sure can't. So let's value each other, our brothers and sisters, and actually support them in real ways. Let's not tear each other down on superficial value, because the world does that enough for us.
So much.
All right, so stay black in these streets.
Yeah. So thank you so much for listening to our podcast today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please remember to like and subscribe to this channel. Leave down some comments below about any experiences you have had being black women, whether it's dealing with your hair, your skin tone, in the workplace. And you can follow
questions you guys have for us about like our journey and things we've experienced, or anything personal, or anything, we're open to share. Anything that you're also wanting for us to touch on, and that'd be great. So definitely comment, like, subscribe, share. All on Facebook, find us Strong by Choice. On Instagram, strong _ by choice. Okay, we'll see you guys next time. Bye.